Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Tom.
Hi, I'm Stephanie.
And today we're going to continue to get pumped up for pumpkin season. I have to say I've never really felt terribly excited for pumpkin season, but because we're talking about it in today's program, we are going to get pumped up. We are going to get excited for this particular topic, especially for us, because, you know, we live here in Taiwan and pumpkins are kind of rare. People don't really like them so much here. You can get pumpkins here, but again, as I said, you have to go looking for them. And so it seems kind of scarce, you know, so therefore it seems kind of exciting. I like pumpkin pie. Stephanie, you're not really a big fan of pumpkin pie, but still, it does have a certain,
sentimental value.
Sentimental value for culture and things like that.
Well,
pumpkins, of course.
It's part of Thanksgiving, right? You can't sit down and not. I always get a little tiny slice of pumpkin pie just so I can eat more whipped cream, really.
Yeah, my favorite pie, of course, is lemon meringue pie. I like that sour kind of taste there, but it is awfully sweet.
You know what you'd like? You would love key lime pie.
What kind of pie?
Key lime pie.
Key lime pie?
Key lime.
Key lime. Oh, yeah.
Key lime pie is the best.
I'll have to look that up.
It's better, and it's got more of that bite to it. It's
okay.
The best
maybe
pie
I've had that before. I don't know. I don't seem to have any.
They don't have it around here, that's for sure. But it's good.
I used to ask my mother to make lemon meringue pie. I guess it's harder to make than pumpkin pie. I'm not quite sure, but
they're pretty easy, though.
Oh, we could talk about pie and cake all day long.
All day long.
We love our junk food in the United States, but hey, we're getting pumped up for pumpkin season because Halloween is just around the corner. So let's get to it, everybody. Let's read the entire contents of today's lesson one time.
These days, people use pumpkins to make jack-o'-lanterns at Halloween. But the tradition actually began in Ireland, where people first carved them from turnips and potatoes. When Irish people immigrated to America, they began using pumpkins instead because the vegetable was readily available and easier to carve. Pumpkins don't have to be spooky, however. They play a major role in the beloved fairy tale Cinderella. In the story, Cinderella's fairy godmother magically transforms a pumpkin into a sparkling carriage, so Cinderella can meet the prince at a dance. When she fails to return home before midnight, the carriage turns back into a pumpkin, and she's forced to run home. This tale even led to the expression, "turn into a pumpkin," which refers to the need to return home or go to sleep because of the late hour. Today, pumpkins generate more than $100 million in sales each year in the U.S., making it big business. Two varieties of pumpkin are especially popular. One is the smooth orange pumpkins that are used for Halloween decorations. The other is called the processing pumpkin. These grayish pumpkins aren't as beautiful, but they are just as tasty. They are processed to create pie mixes, soups, and other food products that require pumpkin flavor. Despite the popularity of pumpkins, not every American is a fan of the vegetable. Some people feel that companies have gone overboard with pumpkin spice products, including pumpkin-flavored beers, sausages, and potato chips. However, pumpkins are sure to remain popular as symbols of Halloween and harvest. Why not enjoy carving a jack-o'-lantern or eating some pumpkin pie this fall?
Okay, let's describe the contents of today's lesson here. We're getting pumped up for pumpkin season. And we're going to talk about the contents now. So here in the first paragraph, it says, these days, in modern times, people use pumpkins to make jack-o'-lanterns at Halloween. But the tradition actually began in Ireland, where people first carved them from turnips and potatoes. So, of course, if you're talking about a pumpkin that has been carved out and made into a face or something, we call that a jack-o'-lantern. And in preparation for today's program, I tried to figure out exactly why we call them that. I think most people in the United States don't really know why we call them jack-o'-lanterns. And after I read the description of where the name comes from, I'm still confused myself. I couldn't figure it out. So
really?
Let's just say we call those things jack-o'-lanterns, and your humble teacher here just really can't explain to you why. But in any case here, they're called jack-o'-lanterns. And, of course, they're used during Halloween. But this tradition, of course, began a long time ago in Ireland. And there, people first carved them not from pumpkins, but from turnips and potatoes. Those are other kinds of vegetables that grow in the ground.
Root vegetables, they're called, yeah.
There you go. And, of course, we are using the verb to carve something. Anytime you take a knife or something to something hard and you try to make some kind of sculpture from that, you are carving that thing. I think in Miaoli, they are famous for carving the wood there into various Buddha images or whatever. They've got lots of carvings there. And so here in Ireland, they would take turnips and potatoes and they would carve them like the pumpkins that we do today. I guess they'd probably try to make faces with them, you know, with an eye or two eyes and a nose and a mouth and stuff like that.
Yeah, my mom was a really great carver, pumpkin carver. Man, her jack-o'-lanterns were always by far the best. My brother, who has kids now, he's turned out to be really talented as well. In the States, we'll often have jack-o'-lantern carving contests to see who can come up with the best jack-o'-lanterns. Those are always fun. But in Ireland, I think it's really interesting that they were carving turnips and potatoes before they turned to pumpkins. Turnips and potatoes are quite small, though, compared to some of the big pumpkins. Now, when the Irish people who lived in Ireland immigrated to America, we have a lot of Irish that moved over to America, especially in the 1800s when there was a lot of hunger going on in Ireland. They had some people who starved there. They couldn't get their crops to grow. So they immigrated to America and they began using pumpkins instead. So they're the ones who actually gave us this tradition of carving vegetables. And like Tom said, you're actually taking a knife and making shapes with it. And this made the vegetable pretty popular because they were readily available. Readily means very easily available. So you could find a pumpkin anywhere. And it was easier to carve than a turnip and a potato, which are much harder vegetables, actually.
Indeed, and they're smaller, though.
Yeah.
And, of course, pumpkins are readily available in the U.S., but who wants to carve a potato? It's the size of your fist, if you're lucky.
Yeah.
Pumpkins are much larger, and they're easier to carve, and they're that nice orange color. So, yes, we're going to carve pumpkins and not turnips or potatoes. And that's, again, is because pumpkins were quite common in the United States and other parts of the Americas. Now, pumpkins don't have to be spooky, however. They play a major role in the beloved fairy tale Cinderella. So, indeed, we don't think of pumpkins only when we think of Halloween. Pumpkins also appear in folklore in other places. And here is the fairy tale Cinderella. Okay, so they play a major role in that fairy tale. Of course, it's a beloved fairy tale. It's loved by a lot of people. And they play a major role there, a pretty big role in that particular fairy tale.
Oh, yeah.
I guess so. I thought Cinderella and the prince and the fairy godmother and those two awful sisters played bigger roles than the pumpkins, but I guess the pumpkins still were very important to the story.
Well, her pumpkin, in essence, was her mode of transportation. So if you've heard of the story or seen the cartoon, they turned it into a movie. Actually, it was just made into a real-life movie with real people and not just a cartoon. Maybe 2 or 3 years ago. It was really good. Now, if you say something has a major part, a major role, major means important. And major is definitely more important than using the adjective minor. So it had a major role, an important role in the beloved fairy tale Cinderella. Why? Well, in the story, remember there's a fairy godmother who appears and helps poor Cinderella come up with a beautiful gown and those glass slippers. And then she needs a way to get to the dance so she can meet that gorgeous prince. And so what the godmother does is she takes her magic wand, that little stick is a wand, and transforms or changes that pumpkin into a sparkling carriage. Sparkling here means lots of shiny lights on it. It glows. We also use sparkling to talk about a form of bottled water called sparkling water, which is like Perrier. It's got bubbles in it. That's sparkling water. There's also sparkling wine, which isn't real wine. It's just grape juice with bubbles that you can buy as well. So she turned that pumpkin into a carriage with some horses. I think she used mice, and they were magically transformed into horses. And then Cinderella was able to get to the ball. That's what a really formal dance is called, a ball.
Isn't that wonderful? A plain, down-to-earth girl can go to the palace and meet the prince.
Yes.
You think a prince who's got all this kind of money would have hundreds of other women to pick from. Why would he pick this woman? It doesn't sound very realistic to me.
Oh, she was prettier than anybody, and she was sweeter than anybody. She was perfect.
Yeah, well, girls, remember that only happens in fairy tales. But in any case here, when she fails to return home before midnight, the carriage turns back into a pumpkin, and she's forced to run home. This is basically a summary of the fairy tale. Yeah, she's supposed to return home before midnight, and remember, she runs away. And the prince goes, "Oh, where are you going? I don't even know your name yet. You're the most beautiful woman in the world. I must be with you forever." And she runs away, and the glass slipper falls off her foot, and blah, blah, blah. You know the rest of the story. And, of course, the carriage then turns back into a pumpkin, and she runs home. And the pumpkin, I suppose she grabbed the pumpkin and took it home and maybe carved it into a jack-o'-lantern. Who knows?
That's not part of the movie, but perhaps. So this tale even led to the expression turn into a pumpkin, which refers to the need to return home or go to sleep because it's really late. So if something leads to something else, led to is the past tense form of this verb phrase, to lead to. It takes one situation turns into something else. It's like it naturally goes in another direction. Maybe you've started exercising and you're walking, and that's led to you wanting to jog. Or maybe it's led to taking up other forms of exercise. So one thing leads to another, and an expression here just is a way of communicating with certain patterns of words. So here's an expression, uh-oh, it's 12 o'clock. If I don't hurry home, I'm going to turn into a pumpkin. You're not really going to turn into a pumpkin, of course, but it comes from that Cinderella fairy tale, which means you better not stay out too late or something bad might happen. You got to get on home. My mom had a saying when I was growing up, nothing good happens after midnight. So we had to be home by midnight, in high school at least, so that we didn't get into trouble. So you might turn into a pumpkin if you stay out too late, or you don't get to sleep until it's quite late. It doesn't make you look very good the next day if you don't get enough rest.
I have a feeling that this phrase is probably used mostly by women and not by men. I have never used this myself.
No.
Because it does refer directly to Cinderella.
Yes.
And that brings us to the midway point in today's lesson. Let's take a break right now, but please stay tuned. We will be right back.
Hello everyone, my name is Tina. 想到南瓜，大家都会联想到万圣节的南瓜灯。今天文章的第一个句子提到 These days, people use pumpkins to make jack-o'-lanterns at Halloween. But the tradition actually began in Ireland, where people first carved them from turnips and potatoes.在这里提到的 jack-o'-lanterns 指的就是捷克南瓜灯，会在 Halloween 万圣节的时候呢来雕刻它。不过文章提到这样子的 tradition 传统其实是源自于爱尔兰 where 在那里人们呢刚开始是用大头菜跟马铃薯来雕刻的。Carve 这个字呢当作动词有雕刻的意思，那个雕像是用大理石雕刻而成的，你就可以说 The statue was carved out of marble。 以前用大头菜跟马铃薯，现在则是用南瓜灯。第二段则提到南瓜在这个童话故事里面的意象，当然大家会想到的是 Cinderella， 也就是灰姑娘咯。第二段的第三个句子提到 In the story, Cinderella's fairy godmother magically transforms a pumpkin into a sparkling carriage. so Cinderella can meet the prince at a dance. 在故事里面呢，灰姑娘的神仙教母用魔法把一颗南瓜变成了闪闪发亮的马车。在这里 transform A into B， 也就是把 A 改造成为 B 的意思。举个例子来说，他们把老火车站改造成为一座科学博物馆，你就可以写 They've transformed the old train station into a science museum. 而这里则是把南瓜改造成为闪闪发亮的马车 Sparkling 可以解释成为闪闪发亮的，那它还有另外一个意思是起泡沫的，所以最近很流行的气泡水也称之为 Sparkling water。 这一段的最后一句 This tale even led to the expression turn into a pumpkin, which refers to the need to return home or go to sleep because of the late hour. 那这样子的故事呢，甚至还促成导致 lead to 过去式 led to 这样的词语 expression 解释成为措辞词语的意思。有一个词语叫做 turn into a pumpkin， 指的就是因为太晚而需要赶快回家睡觉的意思。
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Okay, welcome back. We're going to continue talking about pumpkins. And, of course, we just got done talking about the fact that the jack-o'-lantern originally came from Ireland. And they started carving pumpkins when the Irish immigrated to America. We also talked about the fact that a pumpkin plays a major role in the fairy tale Cinderella. The pumpkin changes into the magic carriage that takes Cinderella to the ball to meet Prince Charming.
Yes.
Now, the next paragraph here goes on to say, today, pumpkins generate more than $100 million in sales each year in the U.S., making it big business. So I guess in some parts of the country, if you grow pumpkins, you can probably make a lot of money, but they're probably mostly sold in October around Halloween.
Yeah.
And you probably wouldn't be able to sell them the rest of the year, but who knows, you could grow maybe other crops in the off-season.
I'm surprised that they sell that many pumpkins in the States. Wow. Yeah, generate means to produce or create something. So they're really making quite a bit of money off pumpkins as a crop. So two varieties of pumpkin are especially popular. Two varieties of pumpkin. You could also say two varieties of pumpkins. They're both correct.
Sure.
One is very smooth. If something's smooth, it doesn't have any flaws. It feels very soft if you use your hand over it. Something that has a smooth peel or peeling to it is an apple. An apple's very smooth. Something that's not quite as smooth is like the dragon fruit here. It's not a smooth outside part to it at all. One is a smooth orange pumpkin, and it's used for Halloween decorations, the ones we've been talking about that are bought, carved up into jack-o'-lanterns. Anytime you have a festival or some sort of holiday or celebration, people like to decorate for that celebration or party. For Halloween, of course, you're going to put up things like ghosts and witches and put up jack-o'-lanterns, things like that. Christmas, there are a lot of Christmas decorations. Chinese New Year is beautiful because of all the Chinese lanterns and all the beautiful red decorations that are put up. Decorations make everyone feel very festive.
Absolutely. Yeah, even St. Patrick's Day has Irish decorations with shamrocks and leprechauns and stuff like that. So at least during Halloween, of course, there are lots of decorations. You see them here in Taiwan. People in Taiwan get into the spirit. It's also a good excuse to dress up the kids in cute little costumes. Boy, do I love it when the kindergartens take those kids out for a walk and they're wearing those costumes.
They're so cute.
They are ultra cute. Now, the other type of pumpkin is called the processing pumpkin. I had not known this before our program began, but we're talking about two different kinds of pumpkin. And this is the processing one. Processing here refers to the verb to process, which means you take a series of actions or steps in order to complete a particular task. You have to take different kinds of steps to complete a process, for example, like putting together a piece of furniture from IKEA, for example, will involve sometimes a rather lengthy process. You start by putting these things together, following the instructions, and maybe after an hour or two, you will put together that piece of furniture.
Yeah, a lot of fruit or vegetables that don't look beautiful on the outside are used as processing fruit or vegetables. Maybe someone is growing crops of corn. Some of the ears of corn look beautiful. They'll sell those to people. The other corn will be harvested and turned into pig feed or something that animals can eat because maybe those ears of corn didn't turn out so beautiful.
Well, we call that the difference between sweet corn and... what was the other one called? Feed corn.
Feed corn, yeah, the feed. It's turned into feed. So these grayish pumpkins, they don't sound very pretty. That's not a good color. They aren't as beautiful, but they are tasty. In fact, they're also called sugar pumpkins. They just taste better than the ones we use to decorate with. They're processed, like Tom said, to create pie mixes. Like I said, my mom would make pumpkin pie, buying cans of pumpkin, and then mix the other ingredients like sugar and cinnamon in with that. Those cans of pumpkin actually came from these processing pumpkins. You can also make pumpkin soup. Tom and I have a friend here in Taiwan named Stevie, and boy, his pumpkin soup is the best. All their food products also require this pumpkin flavor. We talked about how Starbucks is making these lattes in the fall that are really very, very popular, I must say.
Indeed, if you're into coffee. So, yes, these are some uses for pumpkins, the ones that are eaten. And again, they use the processing pumpkin as opposed to the smooth one.
Kind of an ingredient, right?
Exactly. Now, here in the final paragraph, it says, despite the popularity of pumpkins, not every American is a fan of the vegetable, the pumpkin, which we are talking about. So despite the popularity, even though pumpkins are popular, still not every American is a fan of pumpkins. Yeah, some people just don't like them. You said that yourself.
It's okay.
You don't really go gaga over pumpkins. I like pumpkin pie. It's a great thing to eat. It's tasty, even though I do admit it's probably the cinnamon and the sugar that I'm tasting more than the actual pumpkin.
Yeah.
But in any case, some people just don't really like pumpkin. They could do without it.
Some people feel that companies have gone overboard with pumpkin spice products, including things like pumpkin-flavored beers, sausages, and potato chips. If you go overboard, guys, then you're 过分, right? You go overboard on something. You do too much, or it turns into something that's ridiculous, or wow, that's just too much. So they've gone overboard with all of these different pumpkin spice products. I don't drink beer. It smells terrible. But pumpkin-flavored beers, it sounds like you're trying to turn your beer into some sort of sweet drink, which sounds gross,
Well,
too.
Nowadays, of course, you got all the craft beers.
Oh, yeah.
So they're trying all sorts of different recipes.
Flavors, huh?
You can get craft beers, of course, here in Taiwan. I'm not really into that myself. I don't drink beer as much as I used to. In fact, I think the last time I drank a beer was maybe 2 or 3 months ago.
Makes you fat, boys. Be careful.
It makes you fat, and I guess I just... It tastes different now.
Oh, really?
As the body chemistry changes as I get older. But if you're into beer, hey, there are pumpkin-flavored beers. And although some people say, hey, you're going too far, that's ridiculous, especially if you have also pumpkin-flavored sausages and potato chips. Wow, who would eat that? Yeah, that's kind of going too far. But still, if there's a market for it and if people buy it, what the heck, And however, here it says pumpkins are sure to remain popular as symbols of Halloween and harvest. So yes, pumpkins are important in American culture. I should also mention that the Canadians love them too. If you're in Canada, you can get pumpkins there as well. And they're a symbol of Halloween and they're a symbol of the harvest. Indeed, the harvest occurs about this time of year.
Yeah, fall harvest. You'll often hear those two words together. So why not enjoy carving a jack-o'-lantern? And if you haven't tried it before, you've got to. It's kind of a fun experience. You'll find out you're not as good at it as you think you might be, but you should try it one year. That's fun. Or maybe just eating some pumpkin pie this fall to get into the spirit. I think a lot of these pumpkin-flavored products only appear in the fall, so it's like a seasonal flavor, and then they'll take it away, so you'll be excited again the next year when these pumpkin-flavored products appear. So right now, we're going to listen one more time to our Chinese teacher, and then we'll be back to say goodbye.
在第3段提到呢，有2种南瓜格外的受到欢迎。One is the smooth orange pumpkins that are used for Halloween decorations. 其中一种呢是有光滑的表面的橘色南瓜，也就是大家常常看到用来当作万圣节装饰的这种南瓜。Smooth代表的就是光滑的意思。如果你要解释成为事情进行得很顺利，也可以用 smooth 这个形容词哦。上次我们说 everything is smooth just now， 指的就是此时此刻一切都很顺利，这是其中一种。The other 另外一种， The other is called the processing pumpkin， 称之为加工南瓜。Process动词有加工处理的意思。我们说超商超市贩售着许多加工过的蔬菜，你就说 Supermarkets sell many vegetables that have been processed。 而这2种南瓜非常的特别，也特别受到欢迎。最后一段的一刚开始，Despite the popularity of pumpkins, not every American is a fan of the vegetable. 尽管南瓜非常受到欢迎，但是并不是每一个人都是南瓜的爱好者。Despite 要特别注意，在这里当作是介系词，后面加名词，解释成为尽管虽然。它也可以用 in spite of 这3个字的片语来替代。如果你要加句子的时候要记住哦，一定要说 despite the fact that 再来加子句。接着我们来看到这一段的倒数第2个句子。However, pumpkins are sure to remain popular as symbols of Halloween and harvest. 在这里提到，不管你喜不喜欢南瓜，但是南瓜作为万圣节丰收的这种象征呢，仍然会受到欢迎。在这里我们看到的 symbol 当作名词，有象征跟标志的意思。我们说 The white bird is a symbol of freedom， 代表的就是白色的鸟就是一种自由的象征。所以有机会的话呢，可以在今年的秋天刻一个 jack-o'-lantern， 或者自己来做一个 pumpkin pie。OK， 以上呢就是今天的课文讲解，谢谢收听。
That is it for today. Thank you so much for joining us and happy Halloween. And if you find some pumpkins, enjoy. From all of us here at English Digest, I'm Tom.
I'm Stephanie.
Goodbye.
See ya.